Welcome to part 3 of my testimony. Uh, Let me pray before I give it, okay? Dear Jesus, we're coming to the good part. All of it's the good part. Um, but we're coming to the most relevant part, which is the last 2 weeks of my life, or three, technically. um, so, Lord, I ask you to guide my words, allow me to say my truth, and not my truth, the truth of everything. Allow me to really enjoy reflection. I love this part, Lord. I love that you led me to say yes, that you gave me the strength and the boldness to say yes, and that you dealt with me when I said, I don't know. What are you doing, sir? So let me tell this part of the story in a way that makes sense. I hope I can make sense to others for you. I do pray and thank you. Amen. So, last 3 weeks. So I went to GYC 2022 over in Phoenix, Arizona, and that was so good. So good. So good. If you can go to GYC once, go. Please go to GYC. Please go to GYC. The best part was the 6 a.m. United Prayer. When I tell you that's the best part, I love the workshops. But my faith grew by waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, getting myself ready, waking up my child, which is kind of a big deal. And then saying, hey, we got to go. We're going to be late to prayer. And watching him try to race me to prayer, beautiful, beautiful. And he found his voice in prayer, I believe, there. So I'm so thankful to GYC. So I went to GYC and I was like, God, I feel you're going to move in a mighty way. We're ending the year and we're starting the year with you, right? So this is your year, Lord. You can do it, right? Giving God a pep talk. And he's looking at me like, don't you need a pep talk? Like, don't, thank you for the pep talk. But, if you accept it, I'll work through you. And I was like, okay, but, you can do it too. So, yeah, what happened next was I went to the exhibitors fair, and I was like, God, nothing came from that resume. Nothing came from that CV. If you want me to do something, I'll go and talk to people, but you gotta do the work. So I went to this bright orange construction color booth, and it said he said go.com. And I was like, ooh, he did say go. Um, he said go.com was the domain site of the North American division of the SDA Church. And I started chopping it up with Gladys. She is the long term office ministry person, basically. She's the contact person for if you're gonna do missions overseas. This is what I understand. She was that for me, is that for me. And so we were talking about, I was like, I'm an open person. Like, send me anywhere, send me anytime. I'm willing to go. And she was like, ooh, well, the islands need help. And I was like, the islands? And she was like, yeah, um, Guam. Guam may need help. And so I was like, oh no, I might need a mentor from the States to come with me. Oh no, Gladys, you should come with me to be my mentor, my teacher through the modules. And she was like, oh no, maybe I should go to Hawaii so I can help you learn your modules. And so we're just like messing around. Like we just built a great rapport at that booth. And so I went to other booths as well. And I actually found one of my prayer warriors there. So she was from Asia, or she just came back from a 10-year stint in Asia, and she was adjusting and acclimating back to American culture. And I told her, I was like, I don't know if this is where I'm supposed to go, but I feel like I still wanted to come talk to you. And we just talked about just being in the mission field and being a missionary. Um, and so she was like, here's my card. We'll pray. We pray every single day for everyone who asks for prayer. And we'll pray that God sends you somewhere that you can be used very well and where you'd be the most effective. And I was like, thank you so much. So I have to actually tell her. Oops. Everything's running through my mind, so don't worry. So when GUIC ended, I did an application that night. And then the next day, I did all of the training modules because I was like, if he sends me tomorrow, I want to make sure none of the paperwork got in the way. And he didn't send me tomorrow. He didn't send me for a week. If anything, I didn't hear anything until 3 days ago, 4 days ago. I'm losing my days. But um, what happened was I went back to Kansas and I went back to my job on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then on Saturday, I was talking to um I was talking to God and I was like, I thought you were gonna send me. And he was like, mm-hmm. Just kind of staying quiet. He was being staying still in my mind. When he was facing me, he was staying still, like steady, like I did say I was gonna send you. And I was like, hello, excuse me, sir. You're not sending me yet. And so when I was outside, taking my dog outside, he was like, what if I sent you tomorrow? I was like, oh, well, I would quit my job. I would sell my car. I would end my lease. And, I started listing all the things I would give up for him if he sent me on Monday. He was like, okay. And so had a little cry for myself there because I was like, wow, I really just gave everything to God. And then Monday happened. So I went to work. And on the way to work, I felt wrong. And I was like, why do I feel wrong? Like, this is what I do. Um, and at 8 o'clock not 8 o'clock, at 10 o'clock in the morning when I walked into work, he was like, I thought I told you to quit. Oh, good morning, Lord. Like, welcome to the party again. Like, it's after devotional. What you doing? Why you talking to me like this? Like you wild. Um, he was like, I thought I told you to quit. I thought we were just, bouncing ideas off each other. No, I thought we were just talking. No. So I wrestled with him from 10 a.m. to 12. And I wasn't performing at work. My mind was torn. I was helping people, but I wasn't getting any sales or commissions or anything like that. And I said, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go out, I'm going to get lunch, I'm going to come back in, shake it off, and keep going. Because there's no way that God's asking me to quit my job. I have nothing else lined up. And so he looked at me. And when I say he looked at me, I felt an intense, like, he pulled close to me and I felt that presence come closer to me. And he said, you are going to leave this building. And if you come back in here, you are not going to be a staff member. You are going to come in as a customer only from now on. You will not come back as a staff member. And I was like, uh-oh. That's the most direct I have ever heard a no in my life. That's still hard to hear though. So I was like, I went to my car, I ate my lunch, and I was like, Lord, I'm not going to go back into that floor as a staff member. So I called my supervisor and I told him, I said, you know, this isn't for me anymore. He's like, what do you mean? He was joking with me. And I was like, no, I think that's it. I think I'm done. And so that day, I quit my job. Um, I went back in the store because I needed like some laundry pods because, life was still going on. um, but then I left the store and I drove back I drove back home and I was frightened. I only had about a month's worth of money left in my bank across all of my accounts. And I have a child, I have a dog, I have a rent, car payment, daycare payment, childcare, yes. I have things I gotta do. And knowing that I did that is still a little scary. Like I still did it. Um, that's wild. I don't think I told a lot of people that I did it because it's just not my MO, right? Like I have been known, not I've been known. The smart thing to do is when you leave a job, make sure you have another job lined up, right? That's just security. And I had none of it. I had no security, no idea. So that was the first week of January. And uh, the second week of January, 2023, I was adrift. I was washing clothes. I was dropping my son off to school and picking him up. But during the day, I was praying, reading, I was cleaning, I was staying busy because I was like, I cannot believe I don't have a job right now. And God told me to rest. He said, trust me, rest in me. And I was like, okay, I'm resting. I trust you. Right? Like, I was not resting. Do I wish I would have rested now? Yes. But I started calling it my sabbatical, right? Like, I am not going to work and God will send me something to do. And He did. Um, in the meantime, that Sabbath, uh, this guy named Scott and his friend D'Angelo came to church as people from a program called In Discipleship. And they gave such a compelling way to deepen my walk with God. And oh my goodness, the burn I felt just to talk to them was wild. It was like the same burn I felt talking to the missionaries. And then they were like, oh, we're sending people to Zambia. And I was like, me, I can do Zuleika in Zambia. I could do it. I prayed and I prayed. I said, God, you want me to go to Zambia? And He was like, not like that, but basically, when I thought, let's go to Zambia, I thought, let's get closer to Scott. Let's really dig in and become friends and build a rapport with Scott. And so he was like, yeah, go ahead and do that. So Sabbath morning, after his sermon, I was like, okay, I stood up. I was going to go talk to Scott. And again, he was glommed by the church because such a powerful testimony. Everyone wants to talk to you. And so I waited and I waited and I was like, D'Angelo is right over there. I could talk to D'Angelo. And then God was like, you can talk to D'Angelo. And I was like, no. He was like, what? I was like, no, I don't want to. I want to talk to Scott. And God was like, don't be scary. I didn't raise you to have a spirit of fear or timidity, right? Like, you were supposed to go talk to him. He's not busy. And I was like, okay. So I looked up, D'Angelo was gone. I was like, oh my goodness, Lord. Like, oh no, I'm sorry. I said yes too late. So I went and I talked to Scott and I went with a pen and paper and I said, tell me the 7 principles to becoming a closer disciple with God. And he saw my hunger. Like, I was so hungry for more. And so we we talked, he gave me a book, and he said, "Stay close, like, make sure that you, like, stay with me, and, we'll get something going here." And so I was floating, right? Like, I said yes again, and I felt like it was a momentous yes, which is true. Um, and then I went home, and God was like, remember you quit your job?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Good." And so sorry, my timeline messed up. So, after Scott, I quit my job on Monday. That's what it was. And then I had my sabbatical. And then during that sabbatical is when I spoke to D'Angelo, because Scott left on Sunday or Monday morning. I can't remember. And he was like, "Why don't you and D'Angelo study the way, since I'm going to go visit my family? And I have a previous engagement that I can't stay with, but I feel your hunger. So why don't you and D'Angelo do the way together," which is the 7 discipleship principles. Um, I was like, "Okay." And D'Angelo was like, "Okay." When I tell you that D'Angelo became one of my best friends, I don't know if he knows it, right? But we have learned so much about each other in the last, like, during that week and a half. And we have prayed so intently for each other, um, for each other's lives, for my son, and for my life, and for his life, and what we're gonna do next. And so we had like about an hour and a half Bible study session every day during that last week. It was this last week. Um, it was great. Oh my goodness. I found the joy in opening my Bible again. And when I tell you, like, I've been laughing in my Bible, I found something silly, some kind of plot twist, like something in my Bible every day has connected with me and resonated. That has not happened before. So that led me to last Sabbath. And I was like, "Well, Lord, I rested in you for a week. How is my Sabbath going to be different from my sabbatical?" And so he just smiled at me. And God was like, "Don't worry. I'm calling you. Don't worry. I'll tell you what happened this past week, in the last 7 days, in the next video." Thanks for sticking around.